It is I. So happy to be here and really just looking at these times of great change and how much is going on. Oh my gosh, how much is going on for our clients? How much is going on in my own personal life in these times of great change? So, um, I think it's so important to make sure that it's not for nothing, you know? Being able to pay it forward is just so darn important. And and that includes you in your life, paying your life forward. You know, one of the things we talked about yesterday is that you get to be a living example of what's possible. You know, you as an example are so much more powerful than you sharing wisdom. Embodying that wisdom and being the example is really everything. It's truly everything. So we have subjects for these 4 days of flourishing forward. I excerpted them, so just know that you and our agents of awakening people are absolutely the first people to be touching in and experiencing some of the chapters of the book that I've just written because it's still in editing phase, and I am so excited to be able to actually talk about or unpack some of the wisdom from the book. So, isn't it exciting? So, maybe that's just me. It's exciting though. I think it is to be able to share. I am so incredibly uh, mm, inspired that there is so much completing. Crazy things are happening. So much completing. My husband just completed something incredible from his past, even last night. That this is such a powerful year for, if you're courageous, for completing deep seated stuff, you know? So let's talk about an expert excerpt from the book. Um, and I think what I'm going to talk about is something that Dr. Marie Andre Nolan noticed in the book because I gave her one of the chapters to read. She's a naturopathic doctor, and she excerpted a a quote from chapter 4 and wrote me back and said like, wow, I cannot wait to read the rest of the book when it comes out. um so I'll read you what she sent to me as the paragraph that really struck her. It goes something like this. So today, my friends, is about divine health, like finding your cosmic age and divine health through times of great change when everything is shifting and changing. Why or how do we maintain our our youthful ability to continue to flourish forward in this world without considering the old decrepit ideas of aging? I don't know if you know this about me, and certainly we're going to talk about this today if it speaks to you. I actually I reject aging. I just completely reject the entire concept. So here's what she quoted. She said back to me when I gave her that chapter. She said, "Oh my God, this is so good. Our body loves us so much, it will never lie to us. It is our greatest guide. When we get symptoms of dis-ease, It's like being told the painful truth by our most faithful friend. I'm going to say that again because I really desire for you to hear this, not so much in your ears as my sound waves are coming out of my mouth. I truly actually desire you to hear this in your cells. That when we get symptoms of dis-ease, it's like being told the painful truth by our most faithful friend, ourselves. 75 trillion individual cells decided to house your spirit as individual entities. And they will never lie to you. It's like the best friend you could ever have. So it might be painful to hear such a truth coming from your trusted companions, your cells. But in hearing that truth, we can more deeply appreciate the friend as well as take enthusiastic action to deal with the problem. And the rest of the chapter is about how to really navigate the body's communications to us. So I'd love to hear from you. Please type in if you have an interest in actually living out your biological your biologically divine age versus your three-dimensional, let's say, less divine age, the age that's given to us by just what the statistics say. So today I thought I would talk about epigenetics and statistics. And I'd love for you to actually type in where you're listening from and what your word for today is, if you can write it below. So let's talk a little bit about your best friends, your cells. Let's talk a little bit about as well the idea that your cells came together to house your spirit and that your consciousness is flowing through this body and animating it. And it chose to be here in times of great change because times of great change have tremendous contrast. And it is actually that very contrast that gives us the inspiration to create anew. When something isn't working well, or when it isn't optimized, or when it hasn't been invented upon in a long time and it seems old, those of us who are born to build bridges will feel catalyzed. And one of the bridges I love to build is the bridge of a new paradigm for aging. So let's talk about epigenetics and let's talk about transcending genetics. The patterns in our bodies and the statistics that the medical field has around, what certain medications do or what it means to have fourth stage this or third stage that. The statistics really don't, they mean something, but they only mean something in terms of this. We recreate our health over and over again. When we don't shift the way that we perceive life or the paradigms through which we perceive life. Because our biochemistry, over 90% of the biochemistry that plays out in our body is a direct result of the framework through which we receive life. So, for instance, if you have never actually made a lot of money, You might have a framework or an idea about money, a framework that was given to you by society that you have to work hard to earn it, or by your family, or by your religion that says it's not, it's not very enlightened to have a lot of money or whatever it is. The way that you plug into life then gives you a certain biochemistry that directly a result of that belief system. And you will get stressed out, which, by the way, is the number one cause of disease. Stress causes an increase in cortisol, and your body's inability to metabolize overly huge amounts of cortisol ends up in both oxidative stress. In other words, you're rusting your body, aging it before its time. But it also ends up in not only oxidative stress, but cortisol, especially cortisol that's unmetabolized, can cause a tremendous amount of inflammation. But what is stress caused by? Stress is caused by your perception of life. Most people say, well, that event is really stressful. Well, it just depends on what this receiver has as a perception that allows you to take in that life that's coming to you. Number one cause of disease is stress. So when we start to shift the way we perceive life, there are so many things I could share with you. Let me just think of one. So for me, for instance, when my husband used to get really upset, I used to take it through a filter of it being personal somehow, that he's upset at me. When he's frustrated, oftentimes at his, ability to communicate what he's feeling, or that he hadn't been heard before, or he has his own filters. And truly, it just doesn't actually get me anymore at all. In fact, I have an incredible amount of compassion, which is an entirely different way of approaching someone who's really upset. I can feel his frustration. And since I don't get stressed out anymore, it doesn't cause cortisol. That's just a small example. Even the way I perceive what's going on in the world right now around COVID or vaccines or all that kind of stuff. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I probably would have been a complete mess. I would have wanted to be under the covers. But these days, all I can feel is what's being catalyzed into our future, and I'm interested in catching up my understanding with the future that's being catalyzed and birthed through the contrast. Therefore, it doesn't stress me out. It actually excites me. So we can entirely change our biochemistry by changing our perception. And the reason I say this is so powerful is because in the field of epigenetics, which we talk about in the book, in the field of epigenetics, by changing your perception, it says that by changing your perception, you can actually change the expression of a gene. You can actually eventually even change the gene. In other words, you've probably heard that you can inherit the gene for breast cancer or inherit the gene for, whatever disease. The point is you can inherit all of your genes, but which genes express in your body is a direct result of the biochemistry that we already shared as a direct result of the perception through which you live. So if you change your perception, you change the biochemistry that gets received by the receptor sites on the outside of your cells. And if you change the biochemistry that gets received by the receptor sites on the outside of your cells, in the middle of your cells, I don't know if you know this, is your, genetic matter. And the genes that you have at the center of your cells do not dictate the disease you could have the gene for breast cancer, but it doesn't mean you're going to get breast cancer. It just means that if your patterns and behaviors of thinking are the same as those that have gone before you that have had breast cancer, the chances of you getting it, because you're going to have the exact same biochemistry, it's going to trigger by coming through the cell and ending up in your genetics. It's going to trigger something that's suboptimal. You change the way you look at life. You change everything about what plays out in genes. The last thing I want to say about your genetics, that you truly, when people say someone else is taking away my freedom, your genes don't take away your freedom. Vaccines don't take away freedom. Nothing takes away your freedom. You literally have the capacity, the freedom, the ability, the programs available, the people that can help you to change the entire perception of life that you have, and therefore change your biochemistry, and therefore, according to epigenetics, actually change the chemistry that gets received into your cells, and the instructions as to which genes should be expressed change as a result of that whole biochemical soup that you've shifted. Does that make sense? So your genetics are not a jail. Your genetics are simply a bunch of possible roads that your body could go down. The roads are built, but which road you take is entirely up to you. Just because it's in your genes doesn't mean that road has to be taken. And thank you, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, for doing, such a great job of bringing that information to the forefront. And I'm even witnessing in the world that right now, the field of epigenetics is becoming a much more serious pursuit. Let's finally talk about your biological age versus your cosmic age. Your biological age, which I had done many years ago in my early 30s, my biological age was late 40s, early 50s, and my early 30s because of all the toxins I had been exposed to, and also because how stressed out I was all the time, all the pressure I put on myself. Hence, I had migraines. After doing a tremendous amount of work on myself, by the time I was about 49 or 50, my biological age was more like 33. And you have the capacity to do the exact same thing. I probably should get my biological age done again now, I guess, so that I can say what it is now. But after having done that, I can tell you that it was proof positive for me that we have the capacity to live at our divine age versus the age that's dictated by society saying that this is what happens to you. I'm going to tell you the greatest there are about 5 or 6 factors that contribute to you living your divine age. More is in the chapter that I quoted. It's chapter 4 of the book UNstuck. But one of the things that we talk about there is that when people decide to retire or give up or stop creating or stop living their dreams is the instant that your telomeres start to shorten. And when your telomeres start to shorten, that's a surefire sign that you're on the way out, not on the way in. And so as long as we're creating upon creation, so I just heard a podcast with Mel Brooks, who's 95 years old. It was on NPR. It was so fabulous. He's just got his wits about him. You can tell he's still creating. He's having so much fun. And that guy is alive. He's alive. And it takes a little bit of work to get to the place where you fully choose to be here. But it is possible to fully choose to be here no matter your age or your physical condition. And it really is my mission in life in these times of great change to assist myself first and foremost, so I can be a living example, but of course, others to be able to live that divine age because you were born for a reason. Your life matters. So today, the homework in our 4 days, tomorrow at sometime between 9:11 and 9:15, I'll announce it just before on the page. We'll have another of the 4 days of flourishing forward. But in today, there's going to be homework for every day. And as I said before, I'm going to be quoting a different part of the book, so that you can so you can start to like get vibrationally caught up so that when you read it, you can just take everything in so deeply. There's so much more on the chapter about health, but I think we're good for now. What I would say is the homework, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's a time of, let's just do this. Don't polarize your food. Don't look at what's put in front of you as, oh my God, this is really not good for me, but I'm going to eat it anyways. Or, oh my gosh, this is really good for me, so I'm so glad I'm eating it. Look at your food as a source of enjoyment. Switch gears. Look at what you're eating and experience what you're eating. It's interesting, as I'm sitting here, there's this flock of crows that keeps going back and forth. The messenger bird. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of them, and they're flying. I wish I could show you the video of it. The message, thank you, messengers, is we're here to create upon creation and flourish forward in the enjoyment of that creation. Just like sunsets, just like forests, just like using any sense to enjoy, your taste buds are there to enjoy. Have what you have, no matter what you choose, whether it's celery or chocolate cake or turkey. Have what you have and take it in with a depth of appreciation that the food is transmuted in its form through the fork that you have the food on before it ever hits your body, and that your body is so receptive to whatever it is through your depth of appreciation that you assimilate what is needed and eliminate whatever is not needed through the purity of your receptivity to the enjoyment of whatever is in front of your face. It is life-changing to experience your food that way, and it is health-changing to experience your food that way. Whether you're on a so-called restrictive diet, let's just rename that to a diet that actually is in the highest for now to assist in your healing, instead of a restrictive diet, which projects all sorts of stuff. Having been on restrictive diets for most of my 30s and 40s, they weren't. They were serving me. They were expansive diets. I literally got my health back from them. And it wasn't until I changed my perception that the way I eat actually started to serve me. So I hope this makes sense to you. I hope that the homework for today starts you off in this season in a direction that allows you to relate to what's in front of you in a different way. Epigenetically speaking, it will do you well to tell your cells that you are taking responsibility for the way that you not only physically take in the food, but even the way you spiritually and emotionally take in the gift from the land and the sun and the rain. Hope the homework is good. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you what we're going to be, the subject we're going to be looking at tomorrow is we're going to be looking at the subject of, which will be super duper juicy, juicy. We're going to be looking at the subject of the universe is not set up in a way and does not have an operating system based on you deserving. So we're going to transcend for any of you that have this idea that you need to work hard to deserve, or you need to be good enough to deserve, or you have a worthiness thing, or you morph yourself for other people. We're going to do a day on deservedness tomorrow. Looking forward to it. I'd love to hear your favorite part of today. Just type it into the comment field. I'd love to hear what you got from today and what was helpful. That really is, first of all, activating for you to type it out, to be able to hear something and then send it back out into the world is something that helps to deepen the information. And also, it helps other people to deepen their relationship to the material. So glad you're here, you guys, and wishing you a beautiful and wonderful rest of your day with the messengers flying about in front of me. Have a good one, guys. Bye for now.